Dave, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you taking the time to have a conversation with me again. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Okay. Well, I've been a researcher and also an author for the last 18 years since 9/11. And I basically travel around helping people for free and giving talks and lectures and stuff.
Cool. So the topic today was evidence or reasons to believe in a God. Could you tell me what your position on God is and the reasons you believe there are for belief in a God?
Okay. Well, in this realm, I mean, obviously there is no absolute firm proof of anything. So, what my belief is based on the Old Testament. I was an atheist for 40 years, a rabid atheist. Didn't want anything to do with religions, holy books, and all that sort of thing. It was only because the Old Testament kept being presented to me that I decided to read it. And when I read it, I was shocked to find that it's a story, an easily understood story that hasn't finished yet. And what I'm seeing is I'm seeing events that came after the Bible being sort of prophesied in the Bible, or I say Bible, the Old Testament, even to this day. So that's why I absolutely not just believe, but I absolutely know that the Old Testament is more than just a book.
So prophecy is, I think, the reason that you said.
One of the reasons, yes.
Okay, and so what prophecy do you think happened that is true?
Okay. Right. So right now, the one we're living in, or just come out of, is the 400 years of slavery and affliction that the Israelites would go through, according to Abraham. I believe it's Genesis 15:13.
Wait, come again? Israelites. Israel hasn't been slaves for a while now.
Going into slavery for 400 years.
Right. When were the Israelites slaves?
They just came out of it. It ended August 21st, 2019.
I don't recall Israel being slaves. I'm lost on the conversation right now.
Well, who do you think Israel is?
The Israelis, people in Israel, the Jews?
Absolutely not. Absolutely
No.
not. That's why they call themselves Israelis, not Israelites. Yeah, that's why they call themselves Jews, not Judites or Yehudites. That's why they call themselves. That's why they say they're Semites, not Shemites. Word magic.
Word magic. I think that typically today we change the usage of the words to be more general, and so we don't use these ites anymore.
It's word magic.
Really, we're not American ites.
No, it's word magic because
well, I'm just to clarify, when you say word, I just want to clarify, when you say word magic, do you mean like literal magic, or is this just
word magic? Is literally changing somebody's perspective with the use of words. Yeah, and just with the use of words, it makes you believe that these people are the people of the Old Testament. They're not. Even their own scholars will tell you they're not. They're converts to a religion that they created in the 9th century called Judaism, which never existed before.
So Israelites are a group of Semitic-speaking tribes in the ancient Near East who, during the Iron Age, inhabited the part of Canaan.
Crying out loud! You're not going back to Google, are you?
Well, I'm not sure why Google is wrong on this one. Like, why would Google be wrong on this one?
Okay, no, you're right. Google's always right, and you can base your whole life on that.
Well, this part's like the Bible says this. Every single ancient text says this. I'm not sure which part you think is wrong about this. Like what?
Well, in this case, it's a bunch of people claiming an ancestry is not true.
Based on what?
Okay, based on their own scholarship, who say that these are Khazarians who converted in the 9th century.
Again, I have no idea what you're talking about. Israelites just means people who lived in that region and were born in that region. That's about all it means. And so were people
No, it
born
actually
in
means no.
what?
It's not. It's got nothing to do with a region. It's got to do with a bloodline. People who are descendants of Jacob in the Old Testament.
Yes, and where did those people live?
Well, supposedly in the area which was the land of Canaan, which is now Israel.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with those people who are not blood descendants of Jacob.
Yes. So where are the blood descendants of Attila the Hun? Like in China, right? He had
Probably
kids. And then
Hungary and yeah, but so what's Attila the Hun got to do with it?
so the way blood descendants work is that you lived in a place and you had kids and they lived in that place and they had kids and they lived in that place, and then they spread out, but they still live in the place. So there's going to be Israelites in Israel still, because it's how lineages work.
Well, then you haven't read the Old Testament, which tells you that there've been like half of the kingdom was taken out of that region by the Assyrians, and they never returned. Okay. Sorry, that's what happened. Israel, right? Because the land of Canaan was separated into two parts: Israel, the northern kingdom, and Judah, the southern kingdom.
Right,
Israel were taken away by the Assyrians. They never returned.
Okay, well, so do you
You can
have
look
any
it up yourself. Maybe you can look it up on Google.
we could try, but do you have any prophecies that are actually confirmable by science and actual historians that we can confirm, that are not like ridiculous history stuff?
Okay, well, no, I'm sticking with this because this is one that is provable, right? Just by looking. You can laugh.
It's
If you
pretty
want to
funny.
laugh, I mean, I'm telling you stuff here. You can either listen or laugh.
Okay, well, I can do both. They're not mutually
Okay.
exclusive.
Okay, I'll just wait here and listen to you laugh then.
I appreciate it. It's quite good entertainment, but I'm not sure
Okay.
why you think like your particular interpretation of the Bible, which doesn't conform to pretty much any history in any field, and based on your particular history, you think that this particular group moved to a different location, which no one thinks they moved to, and then they became slaves. Which when I don't know when this happened, how it ended in 2019. That doesn't make any sense. Slavery didn't end in 2019 for anybody. I don't know.
Slavery
It
and
doesn't
affliction.
like what you're
Slavery
saying
and
doesn't make
affliction.
sense. Like
Well,
what
okay.
exactly is the prophecy? What is the prophecy exactly?
Okay, they would go into slavery 400 years. Okay, in Deuteronomy 28, the latter half of Deuteronomy 28 goes into absolute detail what would happen to these Israelites when they went into this slavery. Okay, in absolute detail, and that's only happened to one group of people, and not only when they
What are
went
the
into
details?
slavery. Sorry,
What are the details? You said in absolute detail. What are the
that
things that happened?
that they would have like a yoke of iron placed on their necks, that their children would be sold away from them. They would marry somebody and not be able to lie with her. They would gather grapes but not be able to. It literally goes into detail what happened in America, right, over the last 400 years.
America. Oh boy.
And
Well, so
what
just to clarify,
happened.
all the things you listed are in all slavery. All slavery has that. So I'm
No,
not sure what.
what slavery? Do you tell me which slave are you referring to?
The Barbary slave trade, the Scottish slave trade, the Irish slave trade.
Hang on, Scottish slave trade?
Yeah, yeah. Did you know that Scottish were slaves of the English, and people they would marry, you wouldn't be able to lie with them because there's prima nocta was a principle of the English being able
Indeed,
to take the wife.
indeed.
So
But
yeah, there was
did you know that the Scottish and Irish were black people and they were the same
what?
nation?
What?
Mhm.
Wait, when were the Scottish and Irish red-haired people black? I don't recall this in my history
Well,
books.
that's not what I said, was it? I didn't say when
Uh,
these red-headed people were black. No, they weren't black, right? What actually happened? If you want to know, I'll
sure.
tell you if you want to know, right? Okay,
Yes.
so let's stick with Ireland. Okay,
Ireland.
the
Yes.
Irish came about for people called the Iber or Hyber or Heber or whatever.
Are you just saying like we all originated from Africa? So I agree with that.
No, that's not what I'm saying. They were
Okay.
called the Iber. It's the same word as Ibu and a few other tribes in Africa, but it's the same word. It means Hebrew. Okay, so the Iber moved across southern Europe, and they in a place that they named after themselves. Okay, they called it the Iberian Peninsula, which is Spain and okay, that's where it comes from, right? All right. Then a few of them moved away from the Iberian Peninsula to another land they founded, okay, which again they named after themselves, Hibernia, which is Ireland, means land of the Hebrews, okay. Some moved on further from that, founded another country, and the only place name that survives is Hebrides, yeah.
I have
Iberia,
no idea. I have no
Hibernia,
idea what you're saying right
Hebrides.
now. I don't follow.
I'm talking about a movement of people
Okay.
and how you can track them through the place names, which in the past, the convention was to name a place after the people that lived there. Okay. So you can follow these people by just looking at the place names. And I'm showing you how they went through Spain to Ireland to Scotland. Okay. But let's stick with the Irish. All right. So the Irish were a black people. Right. Now, when the last black king was deposed from Britain, okay, Charles II, right?
Wait, what? He was a black king. Charles II was
Yes,
black.
his nickname when he was born was the Black Boy. Okay, and no, you're not going to find it on Google because
He looks very.
it
His pictures are very white for a black man. He is very,
indeed
very,
all the
very white
pictures
looking.
you'll find out that uh, Thomas Thomas Cromwell destroyed 97% of the artwork and
He was
manuscripts and
Italian.
stuff.
So Italian
Sorry,
grandmother. Charles II. He was Italian, so he's white.
no, I'm afraid. Anyway, this guy he was
What?
called the Black
What?
Boy, right? And
Yes, on his wanted poster, he was described as black, which was not his race.
not
It's
only
just
that,
his.
if you find a book called The Secret Service, the Memoirs of the Secret Services of John Mackey, right? You'll find, and John Mackey was a spy for William of Orange, and his job was to make an inventory of the noblemen of Great Britain. Okay, so he described all the noblemen in detail, and you'll find that the sons of Charles II were also described as black people. And some of them, it said, almost as black as their father, King Charles II.
Well,
So,
so do you think this is more likely because people back then were racist and used black as a derogatory term, or do you think he was
no,
actually? Do you think that's not the reason?
absolutely not.
No,
You're just making stuff up now, aren't you? Um,
no. They called a lot of people black back then. You know that it wasn't,
no,
and they
no.
weren't all
Why?
African.
Why would they call somebody black if they were white?
As to make fun of them, to demean them
How?
as an insult.
Really? That's
Yes.
the best thing you've got, is it?
It's pretty common back then. People back
Oh,
then
was it?
did
You were
tend to
there, were
think.
you?
Yes, I lived there. I used my time machine. I
Okay.
went back and asked them. I met the guy. He's definitely Italian.
No, no, no. He's not Italian. In fact, he was of the Stuart line, right? He was a Stuart line. I've got an engraving of his father, Lord
Oh my
Henry
god.
Darnley. Okay, and I've got engravings of Charles II himself, and a painting which is Charles II. Right? No, he was a black man. He was the last of the black kings of Great Britain. Okay,
Charles, King of England.
when
Let's look at this guy.
William of Orange took over, right? Um, and then you had Cromwell. Oliver Cromwell. The first thing he did was attack Ireland and Scotland. Okay, Cromwell basically decimated the Irish population. It went down to about by about 40%. Essentially, that's the males. He killed most of the males. Right, those he didn't kill, he transported to their new colony in the Caribbean. Right, the women remained behind for the most part. Now, Oliver Cromwell couldn't pay his soldiers, so he gave them lands in Ireland, and those lands came with titles. So these soldiers ended up being like the Earl of Cork or whatever. And that's where prima nocta came in, right? Because what would happen is they would rape the women, and the darker skinned offspring got transported. The lighter skin got to stay. You do that for 300 years, yeah, what do you end up with?
Not Africans in Ireland. That's not what happened.
No, bearing in mind that they were already there. Okay, the actual Irish live in the Caribbean. The people living in Ireland now,
Irish live in the Caribbean.
indeed.
Okay. Can we confirm this with genetic DNA markers? Because I think no.
Not that is any actual indication. But
Wait,
I'm a Murphy.
DNA is not an actual indication of
I'm a
lineage.
Murphy. I am a Murphy. Yeah. Okay. Now there's a book
I'm the son of William King Wallace. Sure.
No, my name is Dave Murphy. Okay.
Well, I don't.
Now,
that's not the point here. So go
wait
back to
a
where you said
moment,
DNA. Can we test this?
And I was still talking on one thing. You want to
Yes,
sort of move on
because
to
you
something
said
else.
something really interesting, and I wanted to.
No, it's
to
not
talk
interesting.
About this.
It's not interesting. It's something you can get teeth into and drag away into
That's
a different
what
direction.
interesting means. Like you said that the Irish moved to Jamaica or something to
the Caribbean.
They were
not moved. Okay. They were transported as part of this slavery and affliction, which happened around the same time.
Transport and move are synonyms. So they were moved, and this is something that we
they moved. They moved. No, they were moved. They were transported.
I don't
care. As slaves.
I don't care.
Right.
So the point here is that this is something that we could test. We could check their DNA. We can check the DNA markers of the ERVs of the DNA of the people in Jamaica, the Caribbean, and the people in Ireland, and see if that they match to test their ancestry. We could actually know for a fact if this is true, and it's not. Like I don't understand why this part's confusing. Like if what you're saying is true, we would be able to literally see it in the DNA. We could literally just map their DNA, look at their ancestry, and know exactly which lineage they came from.
Tell me how.
By ERV markers, the same way we can know that you and your son are related. We flip into a DNA test.
I'm asking you, right? So you got these people in Ireland right now, right? Yeah. And so how can you tell me that with their DNA that they're Irish?
We take it and we look for the ERV markers. ERVs are endogenous retroviruses. Endogenous retroviruses are viruses that infect cells and implant their DNA into the cells at random. What you asked the question. You wanted to know how. I will explain to you the process.
That's not what I asked. How? What? Okay. How can you take somebody's DNA from Ireland and tell that they're Irish?
Which I'm not sure what your question is.
How would you do that? I mean, what would you compare with?
ERV markers, like my
with
claim.
Who?
My claim was
with
that
who?
With other people from every different part of the world.
Other people who live in that place, yeah.
No, other people everywhere in the world. We compare them to all the other people in the world. Like I don't understand the question here. So the way genealogies work by looking at DNA is that we compare the DNA markers of different kinds of markers like ERVs and see if they match other people's markers, and we can tell where they come from. So like, for example, if you have a genetic mutation, that genetic mutation is going to be in your son, but it won't be in your father. And so we can say, oh, look, you're related to your son.
Now you do know that people have used their dog's DNA, sent it off to these DNA things, and it comes back with, this dog is 5% Scandinavian, 20%, West Africa, whatever. No,
Yeah, because
it's
dogs have lots and lots of inbreeding. Yes.
oh, okay. So so you can tell, or these tests can't tell if it's a human or a
No, they can
or a dog.
100%. They can 100% tell if it's a human or dog. That part's easy.
Then why have people actually done this and got results for their dog's DNA?
Because they're dumb.
No, because the system is dumb, not the people
No, the
sending
system
in
is fine. Like the system doesn't check the DNA sequence of to making
how
sure it's the right species. Like
how
if you send your DNA to a genealogy test, they're just going to take the vial, put it in the machine, read out the results. They're not going to
then
actually test the
how
DNA to
does
make
the
sure it's human.
DNA test that the dog comes from a population that lived in Scandinavia?
All life comes from one single
No,
organism.
no
Yes.
bullshit. Yeah,
Yes.
if the test is saying that a dog is 5% Scandinavian and 15% West African, yeah, it means the test is bullshit.
No, that doesn't
Okay,
mean that at all. It means that the
right.
test gives weird results for things it
It
wasn't
means
meant for.
good.
Congratulations.
It's good.
If you try to weigh like a foot, where you're going to get some weird results. It's not going to work. If you try to do the square root of a pork chop, you're going to get some weird results. Doesn't mean that the test is broken. Square roots work just fine. You're just going to apply them to the correct thing that they're meant to apply to. Like saying
Right.
that you can
Okay.
put dog DNA. Wait, what you just said is so stupid because you're saying you can put dog DNA into a thing designed to measure human DNA and it will get weird results. Congratulations, Bob. You're using the wrong tool. Good job.
Then explain how identical twins have done exactly the same thing, sent their tests off, and they get completely different results.
They don't.
They do.
They don't.
You can look it up yourself.
I have. They don't.
They do.
They don't. Like there's
Okay.
actually a
Fair
really
enough.
well-known study. There's a well-known twin study, one of the biggest ones that had
I'm afraid I've
15,000
got
twins. Wait. So
where
this is a very well-known academic study, talked about by Robert Sapolsky, a Stanford professor, of a twin study of 15,000 twins that were separated at birth. One was raised by one family, one was raised by another. DNA did not have this problem. They could tell they were twins by looking at the DNA. There wasn't this problem didn't exist. You're just making stuff up. Like
no. I when I was looking at that, I found several people who said, "Look, me and my sister are identical twins. We sent it off to 3 different companies, and we got totally different results back. Not only between themselves, between the twins, 3 different companies gave one twin 3 different results."
It's possible that companies are dumb.
It's very possible because that's what bloody well happened.
Wait. That doesn't in any way invalidate the science of DNA at all. That gives zero evidence that DNA
Yes,
is
it
false.
does.
Like one, it could just be. I found some people who said the world is flat. They're just kind of silly people. They don't actually know the science.
There's
It doesn't mean
one
the world is
here.
actually flat. I know that was the joke. That was the joke, Dave. Come on. But so the fact that you found a few people who said some things doesn't mean it's true. And 2, even if there are some corrupt companies who are lazy and make stuff up, that doesn't mean the science is wrong. So I don't care about any of that because none of that's evidence the science is wrong, Dave.
Okay, we're just going to go around in circles in this because if
DNA
you're not
has
look at anything,
substantial proof that it works. 100%. It works. There's
we've
nothing
got
better.
all we've got is you believing in the system, right? And anything the system says, okay, it's all right. It's 100% true for you. So fair enough. Okay.
So I just want to get this right. Your prediction.
What I'll get to, because I started this point before you wanted to go off on DNA,
sure.
Right? What I want to get to is I was looking at I found a book, right? That there's only 2 left in the country in England. Called Whence the Black Irish of Jamaica. Now, it was the author was somebody who lived in Africa for a while and then went to live in Jamaica. And he was shocked to find that the black people in Jamaica were very different from the ones that he saw in Africa. And they all had pure Irish names. So what he did, he assumed they got their names in slavery. Okay, that's what he assumed. He said, well, they must have got these Irish names in slavery.
It's a pretty good guess. It's a good guess.
So what he did was look at the land registry, right, to find the names. He couldn't find any of the names, right? Least of all because at the
They
time,
were slaves.
England was at war with Ireland and Scotland, and this was an English. So there would never be any Irish or Scottish landowners, right? He
That
couldn't
makes
find the
sense.
names. As soon as he went back to England, he checked Oliver Cromwell's records and he found the names, right? So Oliver Cromwell basically decimated half the population of Ireland. Those he didn't kill, he transported over to the Caribbean, which is where they are today, which is where I got my name from.
That makes zero sense.
I'm
But
sorry.
we can just grant that.
What
So
do you
let's
mean
say
it makes
that
0 sense? What doesn't make sense about that?
the fact that it doesn't align with any of the empirical data that we can test. So like you're saying, you've made
What
this
empirical
prediction,
data? Sorry, what empirical data?
DNA, genealogy data that we can actually test. That's a good
Have
one. A
you
very good one.
tested the DNA of these people? No, you haven't done the actual test, right? So it's not empirical
Right.
evidence. It's just stuff you're making up right now.
Did you, Dave? Were you there when Oliver
No,
Cromwell
I'm
moved half
looking
the
at
Africans? No,
I'm
no, you
looking
didn't.
at
No, you didn't.
historical evidence.
Great. And I'm
I'm
looking at
looking at
empirical
historical
scientific
evidence.
evidence. I'm looking at the real stuff.
Well, yeah, but you haven't got it. You're just making it up. You're saying, well, if we did, that's what we'd find. No, you haven't done it yet, so you can't rely
Yes, we
on
have.
it.
We've
Can
done
you?
genealogy tests of everyone in the world, of like all countries. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
And I'm trying to tell you that you're trying to say you can tell where somebody's from just by looking at their DNA. You
Yes.
can't.
Yes.
You cannot, because DNA has got no respect for where somebody lived.
So I don't think you understand how DNA works.
Right. Well, again, we're let's not get go round and round in circles on this, because you just you've got this idea, you're like a terrier, going to keep on with it because you think you're right.
Yes, because it's hard evidence. And so you say that the Bible, God is real. Wait. So your argument was God is real because prophecies are true, and the prophecy that we're talking about is that African Americans ended slavery, and because Africans aren't, or no, Israelites ended slavery because, and Israelites are not the real Israelites, not the real Israel. No, it's a different one that doesn't have any genetic markers whatsoever. So all of the genetic markers, which are used to confirm pretty much everything from criminal data to genealogies, to identify anybody from the world, to identify viruses, like everything that works in every biological field. No, that's all wrong. And so the prediction,
if you want to stick on that, if you want to stick on that with
was like, so it seems like your argument that the prophecies work are contingent on all biology being wrong. DNA is wrong.
I never said that.
I know. This is like a question. I'm trying to like understand your position. So it seems to me like for your prophecy to be true, that Israelites ended slavery and the Israelites are actually not Israelites. They're like African Americans, I'm guessing. Well, for African Americans to be the true Israelites, based on your assessment of how they moved through cities and towns and things, we would be able to know that based off of their genealogy. We would see the genetic markers of the differences of these people because they would have similar genetic markers as other people in those time periods of wherever they moved, because that's how genes work. If somebody has a genetic mutation, what?
E1B1A.
What about it?
That is a genetic marker for the Israelites. You'll also find that the Lemba tribe of West Africa, right, have been accepted as the Kohanim, the tribe of Levi,
based on what?
Even by the Jewish people.
They've
done it, not me.
I don't care. They don't scientists. I don't care.
Their scientists have done this. Not, Joe Bloggs didn't go down and say,
their scientists have done?
Oh, for crying out loud! I mean, you're the one who wants to stick on on DNA. I'm just telling you, right? It's not just DNA. Another example, right? When the Israelites were
so I can find no academic papers. One second. I can find no academic papers referencing E1B1A as Israelite DNA. None of them. So it seems to be just a crackpot theory people have. There's
Fair
no,
enough.
I don't
Fair
see any
enough.
academic
Okay.
papers on this.
All right. You're not going to, right? But all right. Another
Well,
piece of evidence. Another
that would
piece
be
of
the way it was
evidence.
confirmed, right? Like if
Another
this was
piece of
actually
evidence.
Israelite DNA, we'd see it in the papers, right?
Yeah,
That would be the
but
thing.
we're in a system, right, where none of us can trust what we call science. Okay, we can't.
Well, I mean, it seems like it's better to trust science than to trust whatever you're trusting. It seems like science isn't
Really,
perfect, but it's a whole lot better than whatever you're trusting.
seriously, have you been jabbed?
Have I been jabbed? Oh, you mean COVID shot? Jabbed.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay, we'll see in a few years then.
So if in a few years I'm perfectly healthy, does that mean that you are wrong?
Well, it might mean that you had a placebo. I don't know, but yeah.
So wait. So like what if most people who have the COVID vaccine are healthy? Do they all have a placebo? Is it all a lie?
No, but we're already seeing the massive rise of people who've had the shot and are dying suddenly.
We're not. We're actually not.
Type into YouTube
Died
or
suddenly.
Bitcho
Yes, I'm
died
familiar.
suddenly, and
Yes.
you'll start seeing it, won't you?
And well, no, I actually know the statistics on this. Like people die suddenly all the time.
No, they don't.
There's millions a year who die suddenly, and
No, they
if
don't. They don't die of
they
no
do.
apparent cause.
That it literally happens all the time. Yes, it does.
Okay.
That's a really common thing.
How many times do footballers keel over in the middle of a game?
Footballers,
Yeah.
human beings do that all the time. And
How
so
many times
statistically,
before 2020 did you ever see a footballer keel over in the middle of a game, or
that's
American
a stupid
footballer do it?
argument. Stupid argument. It
English
has actually
football
happened.
player, a soccer player, should we say? No, you know what? In my lifetime, I've never seen, up until now, I've never seen, in your words, a soccer player keel over in the middle of a match and die on the pitch. Right?
That's such a dumb argument. So sudden death occurs all the time to many people all over the world for lots of reasons: air bubbles in the veins, aneurysms, heart palpitations. People
Like
die for
babies
no
having
reason.
strokes in the womb,
What?
and the heart attacks in the womb.
People die for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the
Okay.
percentage, there's like millions of people die suddenly for no apparent reason every year, and they have every single year. And now the crazy crackpot people are saying, oh, you've had a COVID shot, and then the same percentage of people die suddenly and say, oh, it's because of the COVID shot. It makes no logical sense. This has been disproven.
Really?
The people die suddenly all the time.
No, but how come there is a massive rise in all, what's the word? All cause mortality? I can't remember if that's the phrase, but not all cause mortality. What's the phrase I'm looking for? Lost the phrase. But
Super Squid Hunk just found a list of all associated football players who died suddenly during their careers. Yes, it has happened. It has happened a lot. People die suddenly all the time. Just heart attacks, brain aneurysms, seizures. Biology doesn't work right.
Can I? So on that list, right? How many
every
people
year about 100,000 people aged between 1 and 35 die suddenly of a natural cause randomly. There you go.
A natural cause. How? I mean, I know personally, I know.
This is from 2014. This is a paper from 2014 before
my
COVID.
age, right? I know 3 people my age who died suddenly. Okay, just out of nowhere, just dropped dead. Right.
Okay.
Most of the people I know somebody in their family or friends who's just suddenly dropped dead.
Yes,
right?
Because 100,000 people suddenly die every year. Yes.
Oh yeah, which is why now we've got defibrillators in schools, and we've got defibrillators popping up all over the place. In England, sorry, you're not in England, yeah? In England, we have defibrillators popping up everywhere.
Yes.
In schools,
I had a defibrillator in my high school when I was in high school. Yes, that's typically a thing to keep people alive.
Really?
Defibrillators shock the heart to make it keep going.
We in England, I don't know about America, but when I was in America, there were no defibrillators in our schools.
I'm 34. This was 2007 when I graduated. We had a defibrillator in our high school to try to keep people alive in case of emergencies. It doesn't mean that it happened. I don't think we ever
I
used
was
it.
in America. I was in America from 97 to 2010. Yeah. My kids were in school there. There was never defibrillators in the schools there. Okay. In England,
Having
they are
defibrillators
putting
doesn't mean COVID is
defibrillators
killing
in
people. It
schools
means we want to save
because
lives.
suddenly people are having heart attacks. People are having strokes suddenly. People are having blood clots that are killing them. I'm
Yes,
just saying.
we typically want to have medical technology that can save lives where they're needed. Yeah, that's
But
important. We do
before
that.
2020, it was never needed.
It was needed. We
This is
just
a
didn't do it.
sudden,
Like,
this is a sudden phenomenon. Right?
oh my
Is this
god.
how you live your
Oh
life?
my
Just
god.
contrary to everything that comes wrong. Oh no, I can explain that. I can explain that. Is that what you
Basic
do?
logic. Yes, typically when confronted with some silly claim, I use basic logic to say here's why that silly
Okay.
claim is incorrect.
No, you
Yes.
use basic logic and Google.
Well, this one isn't what I need to Google. Why would schools have defibrillators? Oh, will it potentially save lives? Yes. Okay, good reason to have defibrillators. Does it
Why
mean there has
would
been a sudden
schools
increase?
suddenly put defibrillators? Not
Because they
why
have the
would they
money
do
to
it?
afford them, because of
Why would
government
they
funding, because the
suddenly? Well,
technology is there.
now you're just making stuff up, aren't you?
What?
Because you're now
What?
saying, well, it's I think it's because of this. No,
Uh,
suddenly,
do you want me to
children are
Google this one for
starting
you?
to die.
Why
Children are
did
starting to die, right, where they
schools
never did before, like that,
all the
right?
time? They died more in the past. They died less now.
No, they died less in the past. They're dying more
No,
now,
no,
today,
no. Oh my
right?
God,
The
no.
VAERS database, right, and the yellow card system, right? They they only report the amount of people reporting to
Sudden
those is
cardiac
only
arrest takes the
1%.
lives of thousands of students every year and is the leading cause of death in student athletes in the United States.
For
This is
crying
why
out loud!
schools adopted AED on hand to save the lives of students back in the early 1990s. You potato.
Well, the system's absolutely worked on you, hasn't it?
Wait,
Because
what? What? Like, do we need to like interview some parents of kids who died back in the
no, you might
1990s?
want
Like,
to you might want to look at the interview of I can't remember her name, Susan Ward I can't remember her name. She's the executive from Google, who said right they were going to censor
oh
all
my God,
information that doesn't
I don't
fit the
care.
narrative. Any information doesn't fit the narrative. So if you're googling something,
Uh,
you're going
do
to
you want me
get
to
the
Yahoo it? Do you want me
system
to Bing
view.
it? I can Bing it for you. I'll Bing it, and it'll come to the exact same result. Like,
Oh, well, then go and look at Event 201. Look at Event
uh,
201, and you'll see the plan. You'll see the plan was that all social media was going to silence
oh my
any
God.
contrary voice, and
Oh
that's
my
what they've
God.
done.
So what do you want me to actually go to the parents whose kids died in 1990 from this disease to show you that the rates were more in the past and it was less now? Because I can do this. I can
Oh,
go
can
to the
you?
parents, I can bring them on and be like, hey, did your kid die of cardiac arrest in the 1990s before we had defibrillators? And were you a part of the Supreme Court case that presented this to the case to make them put these in schools? Like, yes, we did, because it's a thing. We wanted to
So
save kids' lives.
those children, right? I'm not saying children didn't die, right,
Yes.
of things like that, but I'm saying the numbers of children dying, right, is phenomenal. Yeah. So when those children died, were they denied autopsies?
Oh.
Well, that's what happened over the COVID time. The autopsies stopped happening, right? And when they did start happening, people found these long blood clots, right, made up of this white fibrous material, not blood. Okay, did these children who died suddenly back in the past have that? Because this is something that was never seen before.
No.
Right. So again, I'm trying to discussion with
What
somebody who's
is
got
this?
no idea of what's actually been happening, and all you've got is
How does
Google.
that refute my point? So my point was that Kids have died of cardiac arrest, thousands of them every year since
No,
the
not
beginning of
thousands of
schools.
them. Not
Yes, thousands of them. Yes, thousands of them.
Okay. So that when you say thousands of them, what do you mean by thousands of them? Just give me a.
SCA claims the lives of over 2,000 children and adolescents in the U.S. and approximately 35% of all deaths in children aged 5 to 9.
Over what period?
Before period. I think it's every year.
No, well, don't say I think. Tell me.
I'm working on it. Shush. I'm working on it. Claims the lives. It is also responsible for 10 to 15% of sudden, unexpected infant deaths. So that's 10% is every year.
Revisionist. This is called revisionist. Yeah?
What? I literally, so I had the thing up on Google. I read the first paragraph. Now I opened the page, went to the paragraph, read the second paragraph. It's every year.
Okay, so why is it that we've suddenly got this sudden adult death syndrome? Where did that come from?
What's sudden? There isn't a sudden adult death syndrome. What are you talking about?
SADS. This is the term that they created last year. Right,
not new. It didn't just come about. This is not a new thing.
No. The term sudden adult death syndrome,
yes,
right, came out last year.
We gave it a name. The disease didn't exist. It wasn't like the disease came into existence last year.
So why did it appear last year then?
We make new names for things all the
time,
Dave.
Why did it appear last year? You're just making it up. Why did it appear last year?
Like appendicitis wasn't a name.
Wait,
Dave.
Why did it appear last year?
Dave, I'm answering. So
no, you're not.
Why did they come up with the name appendicitis?
You're not answering it. You're making stuff up on the spot, which is what you guys do. You make stuff on the spot, and it sounds plausible. So yeah, I've answered your question.
it sounds plausible.
And I'm not impressed by your acting. I'm not impressed by your acting.
Dave.
No, I'm so. No, I'm not impressed by your acting, mate. You're not good at it.
Dave, I'm trying. Let me try to explain this, please. So. Appendicitis, that name didn't come about until like the 1800s. Before that, a lot of people died of appendicitis, but they had a different name.
We're not talking about the 1800s or anything here. Okay, if you're saying this is something that's been happening all the time, they would have a name for it already. But it's starting happening like massively over the last 2 years. Right, so they came up with a name for it.
No.
Sorry, that's what happened.
No, it's because we can understand more about medical terminology. We understand specific causes and not
medical terminology. That even the term doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't describe anything. It's just a label.
No. This is why I went back to the 1800s to try to help you explain explain this to you.
So like I'm so stupid and I'm so dumb about this, aren't I? Yeah,
maybe, but I don't know. But so like appendicitis, like we didn't know what an appendix was prior, like a long time ago, right? We had no idea what it was. People just said the side pain death.
What was that?
When was? Do you want me to Google?
When we didn't. No. You stop Googling. Stop Googling.
You ask a question.
No, stop.
You want me to memorize it
now? Stop Googling.
You want me to memorize random dates, Dave?
Stop it right now. Stop it right now. I don't want. You just made a claim, right?
Yes.
And then now you're going to Google to verify that claim, right?
Yes. That's
the
good.
You
resources.
Just made a bloody claim, right? Yes, without any information.
That's how memory works, Dave. You remember something, you repeat the thing you remember, and then you're like, oh, let's go check to see if I remembered it correctly. That's how memory works, Dave.
You just made it up. Right, and now you're going to go use Google for confirmation bias.
When did we discover appendicitis? 1880, boned, Dave. I remembered it correctly, Dave. I was exactly in the correct century, Dave. 1800s.
So I said Dave. We don't have. Why do we have to go back to the 1800s? I said it.
I said it, Dave. I said it. And you're like, oh, you're just making stuff up. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you have to Google it. Why are you Googling it? Oh, no.
You are making stuff up. That's the point. You're making a claim, right, on zero evidence. And then you go, well, let me look it up in Google. and then you're using confirmation bias because you're going to find something on Google.
So I made up that it was in the 1800s based off of nothing,
No,
zero
you
evidence. I
made
just
up.
completely made it up,
Made
and
up this
then
idea.
I looked it up, and I was right about that made up thing, even though I could have guessed anywhere in the last like 10,000 years. But no, I picked the exact correct century with my made up non-data evidence.
You
Yes.
made up this idea,
Yes,
right?
Dave.
That something could go on for hundreds of years, yeah, and then they make up a name, sort of just suddenly out at the end when it's been happening all this time. They don't have a name for it, yeah. Don't even consider it, right? Because well, loads of people die of that. We're not going to even give it a name. So and then suddenly somebody goes, oh, let's give it a name. No, right? They gave it a name because. Right, they had to try and distract people from the fact that people were dying suddenly.
That doesn't make any sense, Dave. If they're trying to distract people,
it's so fake.
Dave. If let's say you're right. Let's say they're trying to distract people away from this sudden syndrome of people dying. They wouldn't give it a name for people to use to call the specific thing they're trying to hide. If they're trying to hide it, they wouldn't give it a name, Dave. That doesn't make sense.
You don't understand the psychology, do you? Just because you don't understand doesn't mean that it's not so.
If I'm trying to hide something, why would I give it a very common name that people could understand, Dave? That doesn't make any sense, Dave.
Because it fools people like you. If they give it a name, then it's
psychology.
If they give it a name like that, then they can say, well, yeah, we know it. We've known about this a long time. We know this. We know this. We know this. Because it's got a name, obviously. No, I'm so sorry, dude.
So the reason they gave it a name was specifically to hide the fact that people just started suddenly dying of this today.
Distract people from it, right? That it's not because of a vaccine. It's something we've always had. That's how it works.
There are new cases of people dying for new reasons that happen all the time. Like cigarette deaths are a new thing. Like they didn't exist prior to cigarettes. So we happily admit if there is a new kind of way people die all the time. There's no problem we have here. Car deaths didn't exist before cars. We know this.
We just come out of a period where if somebody got knocked down by a bus, right, and after they died, they were tested for COVID-19. They died of COVID-19. Anything somebody had was, that's COVID. It's COVID. But we're now in a time where loads of people are taking these vaccines and starting to die left, right, and center, and nobody's allowed to talk about it. The media isn't saying anything about it. They won't even go anywhere near the idea that, well, it could be the vaccine. They're saying, oh, we're baffled. Everyone's baffled. We don't know why people are dying suddenly like this. Doctors are baffled. You know, the scientists are baffled. Yeah, the NHS is baffled. Yeah, we're not baffled. We knew it was coming.
What? So I'm just looking at the SADS data. About 200,000 Americans die from sudden cardiac arrest. 4,000 children each year.
Well, I thought you didn't know what it was. Oh, now you know. Oh.
What?
A minute ago, you didn't know what SADS was.
What? No, I did know what it was.
No, you just said to me you didn't know what it was.
I did. What are you talking about? Like I never said that.
I said about sudden adult death syndrome. You said, what?
Yes.
What's that? What? And now you're looking up. Now you know. Wow, it's like some Joe 90 shit going on here that you can just suddenly download this to your brain and now you're an expert.
Oh no, so yeah, you're right. So I misinterpreted that. I thought you were saying that it is a sudden feature that adults were now dying randomly for an unknown reason or something, and that was a new feature of the world. That's what I thought you were saying when you said sudden adult deaths were occurring. I didn't realize you were talking about the condition.
I said several times actually, mate. Sudden adult death syndrome.
Yeah. So I misinterpreted that, but I do know what SADS
every time I said it.
So the point here was that yes, we invented the word SADS to refer to a phenomenon that was already happening and had been happening for years. Yes, that's how terms work.
Again, you know, you just rewriting history in the last 5 minutes because I said it. You were like, "What? What's that?"
Sudden adult death syndrome has been used and known for decades. There's so many papers from the early 2000s.
Oh, right. Okay. So I'm going to have to believe this anonymous super chat thing.
You can Google it, Dave.
All right. Okay. No. Sorry.
Typically, what you do is when you're confronted with conflicting information, you check it with an independent source like Google, and then other sources like academic
And you're
sources to see
saying,
if they're
how
right.
can you say Google's the independent source when
Because it's not
they
you.
were they were at Event 201 actually saying that they were going to restrict information to trusted sources, their trusted sources, right? They were going to censor all information. So that's why you don't see any conflicting information on Google or the mainstream
What are
media
you
or
talking
the
about? What do you
okay.
we totally see conflicting data on Google all the time. What are you talking about?
Regarding the pandemic.
Yes, yes, you
No,
see
you don't.
tons of conflicting
You
data on there. Have you
don't.
seen
Yeah.
Fox News?
Have you heard of Mike Eden, Dr. Mike Eden?
Nope,
Do you know he's a former VP of Pfizer?
nope.
No,
I
he's
haven't
one
heard of
of
him.
the
If I haven't heard of him,
no.
then I obviously wouldn't know if he was the VP.
Exactly, because you haven't heard of him because he's been shouting from the rooftops about what's been going on, and it's not going on mainstream media like thousands
I
and
don't
thousands
watch
of other
mainstream
docs.
media. Why would this
It
have
doesn't
any
matter.
relevance to me?
You're not getting on social media either, unless you are looking for it. Right?
Well,
If you're
so
not looking for it,
there's a prominent Republican anti-COVID doctor. I forget his name now, but my parents
Republican.
watch him all the time,
Okay.
and he's very very well known. There's tons of access to doctors who are criticizing COVID out there. It's not uncommon.
If
It's
you're
not like they're
looking
hard to
for it,
find.
you're going to find it. If you're not looking
Yes,
for it, you're not going to find it. If you say what's
that's
going on
true
in
of
the world,
everything, Dave.
Google. If you say what's going on in the world, Google will give you their canned view. Yeah, that's it. Right, and it won't
Who
be.
asks Google what's going on in the world?
Hello.
That's
It won't be.
what?
If you're not watching mainstream media and you're going to Google for news or any of these sites that belong to or went to the Event 201 or
Okay, how about
the other
scientific journals,
societies.
Dave? I use scientific journals. Which ones were those were Inventor One?
Sorry,
Which of
what
the
scientific?
scientific journals were at Ventor 1? Because that's what I
Okay,
use. I use
then
scientific journals, Dave.
then look in your scientific journals and show me where COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2 was isolated and purified. Go and
What?
find that for me, because
Isolated where? Like
isolated and purified.
do you want the location or
No,
the
no,
people who did
I
the
want the
study?
evidence that it has been done.
What do you mean purified? You can't purify a virus.
In order to characterize a virus, right, you have to isolate it, right? You have to say, there it is, that's it. Okay. I want you to find where it's been isolated.
Oh, like the DNA markers?
Yeah, where it's been isolated in its entirety. So they would have got it from
I don't
a
know what you mean in
symptomatic,
entirety.
they got a sample from
So
a
I'm at the
symptomatic.
NCBI SARS-CoV-2 literature. Which one do you want? I got a bunch of them.
Anyone that says that shows that it's been
SARS-CoV-2 next generation sequencing. Here we go. Genetic sequencing of SARS-CoV-2 clinical Oxford. Genetic sequencing of SARS-CoV-2, a different Oxford paper, another Oxford paper, genomic sequencing of SARS-CoV-2, Oxford.
Do you know what the phrase in silico means?
In silico? No. What does it mean?
Oh, no, use Google. Why should I tell you? You've got the fonts of all wisdom here. So what does it mean?
I'll Google. Okay, in silico definition. All right, here we go. Of scientific experiments or research conducted or produced by means of computer modeling or computer simulation.
That's where the actual virus was created, in silico. They started with a small.
What does that have to do with the papers I just listed? Like none of these say in silico on them.
None of them. Nobody has isolated this virus. Nobody.
What?
They
Genetic
created
sequencing of SARS-CoV-2 clinical
They
trials
created
right
it
here, Oxford
from.
Nanopore.
They created it from.
What?
Right, they created it from a computer. They designed it on a computer.
What
That's it.
This is a paper sequencing the DNA of the. This is what you asked for. Literally, what you asked for. From Oxford.
What date does it have on it? By the way,
What date does it have on it? Show abstract. Let's see. I can't find the date.
What a surprise.
That's not an important factor here. Full summary. Oh, there it's over here. I don't know where the date is. It's too much information.
Okay, in the beginning of all this, we were sending out freedom of information requests to all the health agencies in the UK, right? The British government, everyone who would have had a stake in this COVID thing, we were sending these freedom of information requests. We said, where has COVID, SARS-CoV-2 been purified and isolated and purified? Where? And most of them said we don't have that information. Right? Even Public Health England, who are behind pushing all these measures, right? No, we don't have that information. There's
what
one
information?
place.
Oh, found it. 2023-01-12. This is paper was published.
2023. Oh, so
yes.
After the fact.
You didn't say before. Like obviously they couldn't take the genetic sequence before COVID came out. What?
Well, hang on a minute.
This is just the newest one. You want me to go back to the oldest one?
Hello. Yeah, what? They said that there was a virus. They at the time when it was happening, they had no evidence there was a virus.
What?
None. Zero.
Oh my god. So
I'm getting very frustrated as well.
Yes, because what you're saying is so painfully dumb. Like if you can literally see a virus. You don't need to see the DNA to see it's a virus. You can see a virus. Viruses are visible. Yes.
So let me get my notepad. So is this virus in the room with you right now?
Probably.
Tell me about your mother.
What? Let's
can
Google
you see these viruses
now?
Can
you see a virus? No, I cannot. I don't have a telescope. So viruses can be seen under an electron microscope. Yes, you can see them. You can literally see them.
You've got an electron microscope there, have you?
No, I don't see them right now. Well, I don't need to see them, but you can see them. So I don't understand. Like if you can literally see the virus, you can tell it's a virus because you can see it.
Had purified all the way through COVID. Nobody had isolated and purified. Taken a swab from a symptomatic patient and then isolated the virus that made them sick. Nobody had done that.
I don't know what that means. Like we can see the DNA of it. We can see the actual virus.
Nobody had done that. And the only reference that was given by it wasn't Public Health England. I think it was the Cabinet Office. I can't remember, but they gave a website, Euro surveillance website, and when you dug through their data, right, a whole page full of a whole block of data.
Okay, I found an actual picture, a literal picture.
No isolates are available. No,
I don't care. Dave, I have a picture. I have a literal picture of the COVID virus right here from an electron microscope. There you go. Isolation, 100 nanometers. There it is, Dave. I can see it. I can see the COVID virus, Dave.
And how do you know that's real? Just because somebody's put a picture up?
Because you can confirm it, Dave. You can go rent an electron microscope. You can take someone who has COVID. You can put it under a microscope and confirm it. So testable peer review papers.
I watched the film Superman and I saw a man fly. Right. So it must be real.
Can you confirm it?
I watched Superman 2. He did it again.
No, Dave. You can rent an electron microscope. You can go to someone who has COVID. You can look at the particles of spit or whatever they have in their mouth, or one of the nose swab
what you're
things.
looking at? Is that what you're looking at? Do you know
picture
that for sure?
From
Do you know that for certain?
As you mentioned before, we can't know anything with certainty, Dave. But yes, we have lots and lots of evidence of this, Dave.
No, you do not know, do you?
Dave, you don't know anything for certain. This is the best evidence we've got for anything, and it's better than all of your evidence for everything.
They've got pictures of people on the moon. I don't believe that either.
You can't confirm that, but you can confirm this, Dave. You can go to anybody who has COVID, stick a swab up their nose, put it under an electron microscope, and you can see the exact same thing, Dave.
This is what
You don't need
I'm
to go to
talking
the
about.
moon.
This is what I'm talking about. You're saying that as if you've done it.
I
You've
don't.
not done it, right?
You can do
You
it,
are
Dave. If you
you are
don't trust them, you can do
you're
it. You can go
believing
stick a
you're
swab of
believing
somebody's nose who has
you're
COVID.
believing somebody saying this picture represents this, and then
Yes, because it's a
you're
scientific,
weaving a whole
publicly
story
peer-reviewed
around
journal.
that. You're weaving a whole story about around
Yes,
a
yes,
picture.
yes. An academic journal, a picture in an academic peer-reviewed journal who has multiple sources that all confirm the same data to make sure it's verified. Yes,
Okay,
Dave.
I've
Academic
I've seen
journals.
I've seen pictures of somebody on the moon. I don't believe that. I've seen pictures of a man in a blue suit flying. I don't believe that. Yeah. What do you want? I mean, you can't look at a picture and then weave a whole narrative around that picture as if it was real, because you don't know it's real.
Dave, you can't ask for a genetic sequence and an isolation. Then I give you a genetic sequence and an isolation, and then you say, "Oh, it's fake, fake
You
news, fake
gave
news."
you gave me, right, words from you saying that I'm looking at a picture of a virus. How do I know that that's a virus? How do you know that's a virus? You don't. You've got somebody telling you this grey fuzzy image is what as a picture of a virus.
That's what viruses look like, Dave.
Oh, for crying out loud! So this is why it's impossible to talk to somebody like you, because you just believe anything the system tells you. The system tells you, oh, well, it's peer reviewed, so it must be right. Yeah.
Yes. If it's peer reviewed
Yeah.
and can accurately predict the future and get it correct, then yes, it must be
What is
right.
peer review? What is
Peer
peer
review.
review? Peer review is a bunch of people saying, well, yes, that fits our model, so we'll allow it.
No, peer review
Yes, it is.
experts in the field looking at the data and showing that the data isn't fallacious. It doesn't mean that it agrees with
And
their
how
model.
did they become experts?
Oh my
They
God.
had
By
to fit,
publishing
they
papers.
had
Wait,
to
Dave,
they had to
Wait,
they
let me
had to
address what you
follow
first
the
you said
model.
first. One sec. So you said that peer review is saying that this information confirms fits into my model and therefore we accept it. That's false, Dave. There is a
The
journal of
model.
parapsychology. Parapsychology is the psychic nonsense that no one in my materialistic worldview believes in. It's peer reviewed. They accept it because the methodology is sound, not because it fits into their worldview, Dave. You can publish things that don't fit into your worldview. Nobody cares about that, Dave. It's fine.
Well,
It
the
just has to
system
work.
cares. The system
No, they
cares
don't.
about it. Yes, they
Journal
do,
of
because
Parapsychology. Dave,
hello,
what is parapsychology? What is parapsychology, Dave?
because the system doesn't want anybody having vaccine hesitancy. So anything that goes against that narrative is going to be squashed. It's going to be
Peer
suppressed,
review
and that's what's happened.
isn't the media, Dave. You can
Then
publish
why
academic
are
papers
other
against that.
people trying to get their things peer reviewed, and they can't even they're
Probably
not even
because they're
being looked
idiots and
at?
they don't know how to write an
No,
academic
because they
paper.
don't fit the model. They don't fit
No,
the model.
there are lots of papers in academia that do show conflicting data of COVID. You can find those.
Where?
They exist. They have been
Where?
published
Show
in
me.
the same academic journals we've just been
Please
talking
go
about.
and find one. Go and find one right now.
Okay. Go and find one.
Find one that says,
Dissenting paper on COVID.
oh no. Find one that says that vaccines are not safe and effective. Go and find one of them, because there are lots of doctors, lots of
COVID
scientists out there saying it is not.
not safe paper. Oh. Vaccines journal reacts to controversial paper after editorial board member quits. So here's one of the papers. This is a paper submitted to a journal specifically saying that conflicting data on the COVID vaccine. Here you go from the
All right.
BMJ.
Well, is it peer reviewed?
Yes.
Oh, so okay. So what's the meat of it? Let's hear what's about.
The meat of it. I don't want to open the paper. I just get to see the abstract.
Okay, what does the abstract say?
It says there's conflicting data on the effectiveness and safety of COVID vaccines.
Conflicting data. Well, that's a woolly term, isn't it?
Have you
Conflicting
never
data.
read an academic paper, Dave? They all say that. They all sound like that.
I know,
Dave.
but you're okay. But you're saying that that's somehow saying that this is something that goes against the narrative that's been peer reviewed.
Yes.
Conflicting data could mean anything. It could mean, well, they're saying 90%, and I found it's actually 87%. No, it doesn't.
Oh my God. Like this paper caused one of the people on the editorial board to leave because they didn't like the fact that it was published. So this is exactly what you're talking about, Dave. This is the fact that the people on the editorial board did not want it published. And it was published anyway because it goes against the narrative. What you're saying is dumb, Dave. I literally found exactly what you wanted.
Have the link sent to me, right? Because I can't see it.
Okay.
Have the link sent to me, you know, get your guy to send it to me, and I will look at it myself and evaluate it.
Okay. I can do that.
Right. So
will do. Well, we have been going for about an hour. It was a very interesting conversation. I will send this to Jeff and he will send it to you. Because
I look forward to it.
I'm teaching chess at like 2, so I have to get ready to go.
Okay.
But thanks again coming on. There was a super chat. Our dying son. How do you change someone's mind that no amount of facts will make a dent in their ideology? Also, I like the potato stuff. Make a T-shirt out of it. Will do.
It depends. It depends on what facts you're looking at, because in this world, certain facts are not allowed.
The bad facts, the evil ones.
The bad facts, yeah, the ones that cause vaccine hesitancy.
Also, there's lots of P comments as normal.
As usual, because that when people got nothing
else,
it's
entertaining for people. It's hilarious. People love it, and I think it's fine. Like I think that having something unique about yourself that makes people entertaining is great. People make fun of my hair and my chair in the comments as well all the time. So thanks again for coming on, Dave.
They don't talk about your grandma's basement then.
No, they do. They mention that one all the time. That's a funny one. I like that one. That's a good one.
All right. Yeah, you take care then.
Talk to you later. Peace out.